It's DTS 120 and Festival of the Lost returns. More consumables, masks, ornaments, shaders, and a sparrow to collect. Can you survive?
Happy Festival of the Lost, I suppose.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Destiny, the show number 120, the Destiny News podcast to keep you, the Guardian, ahead of the curve in the world of Destiny. Joining me this week is my awesome co-host, PvE master, grenade thrower extraordinaire, Ditty. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. That was a spooky intro.
It's a spooky week. Festival of the Lost is here. I know our players right now are out there grinding for their masks just like we are. How was your week? What was your favorite thing you did? How was hard mode, dude? How was the new light level changes?
New light level changes are awesome. Got prepared for hard mode. The changes there in the heroic mode, actually not that bad this time around.
Not that bad, yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Oh, I can't even talk.
It's the remix.
Get it out. There we go. I'm really excited actually because it's not as daunting as heroic mode King's Fall, because that kind of coordination, man, it's hard to get done. But these changes are actually quite manageable now, and it's way easier to gear up. Man, I was straggling behind, but now I'm there. It took me like 2 hours of Archon's Forge, and I was geared, ready to go. So that was awesome. And I'm enjoying the raid so much. It's so much fun.
Absolutely. It was so funny because getting past 385 was such a chore. And then the changes go into place and it's like 388 and I sneezed. Like what did I do to deserve such speedy leveling? I really like these changes. It's comfortable no matter what activity I'm doing, which is mainly PvP right now. I see incremental increases in all my characters. Like each time I hop on, whether it's the Warlock, the Titan, or the Hunter, they're each pushing just a little bit further. My max light right now, I believe, is 389. I want to get past the 390 mark because that Vosik fight in heroic mode is, I think that's the toughest part. But when you're past 390, it gets just a little bit easier. And I got to go off on a quick rant here because 2.4.1 changed the way that the lighthouse works. So I did a flawless run with Kat and Sassy. By the way, Burning Shrine, I don't know what happened this week. It was a sweat fest. I have not had a saltier run in forever. But the lighthouse now is a quote-unquote social space, and so you can actually have up to 9 people in there at the same time who've had a flawless passage. So if you queue at the same time, you might get an instance that has somebody else who's gone flawless in there. But in doing so, the cutscene is gone, dude. The lighthouse opening cutscene is gone, and that's one of my favorite parts because you could put the mask on and just troll that. It was just a gorgeous cutscene, and I don't know how to view it again, so maybe somebody can tweet me if they figured out, you just hold Y or something when you go to the destination, whatever. So that's my mini rant, okay? What'd you do other than the raid this week? You said that Archons was pretty good to you. Were you farming for an artifact or a ghost? Did you notice higher drop rates?
Oh yeah, higher drop rates, definitely. I did need a higher artifact and ghost, so I jumped in there. I can't remember what my ghosts are at, but they're very good. My artifact, oh my gosh, I was so surprised when I got this. It's 111% roll on Dim.
Oh my gosh.
It can give me like 50 or 60 plus discipline or intellect, and then like 93 discipline.
Which artifact is it though?
I don't remember the name. It's just a normal hunter artifact.
Oh, it wasn't one of the Iron Lords.
It's not one of the Iron Lord ones, no. So don't get that extra stat. But it's pretty decent. It's pretty good.
Pretty decent, bro. Pretty decent. Well, let's hop into the weekly update. Festival of the Lost is here, you guys. The items, if you're not online right now, get on and check out the new kiosk. There's so many cool little changes. A lot of the consumables, the new masks. I want that new sparrow. I'm grinding for it this week. We've got a full breakdown of all the quests for Festival of the Lost that are live this week, as well as some timing controversies with the hard mode world first. So let's get into it.
starting off in this week at Bungie this past week for October 20th, 2016, they highlighted the first clan to defeat the heroic mode raid, and it's a German team, Die Busfahrer. I butchered that, I'm sure, but basically the bus drivers, that's what it translates to. They accomplished heroic mode Wrath of the Machine first, and they did a brief interview with them talking about, how they managed to plan ahead and prepare for the raid and everything. It's actually a really good read. Other than that, there's not much in this week at Bungie. There are some new weapon ornament skins for the Bad Juju and the Red Death that are coming out. They also mentioned that ornaments for the Thorn as well is highlighted there. They highlighted or mentioned the Last Word and Black Spindle are getting ornaments a little bit later in 2017. So I guess Sparrow Racing League timing there in December. That's my prediction there.
Awesome. Well, I want to say for these ornaments, I think the Red Death ones look so good. The white with all the blood splatters. And then if you haven't seen the new Juju ornaments, I think they both they make me want to use this gun, even though they're really not popular in the PvP meta right now. Bad Juju you probably could still get away with and have some great times with, but the Thorn ornaments are average. One of them just has a bit of rust on the actual barrel of the gun. The other one has sort of this greenish glow on the handle and two little green spots on the actual barrel where they glow. But the problem is, there's actual thorns sticking out of the thorn. That's kind of cool. I wanted color changes. Ditty, you and I both wanted to see, maybe an entirely fluorescent green thorn, or you said a white thorn, right?
Yeah, in the Grimoire, Thorn was originally, I believe it's called the Rose, and that was before it became evil,
like cherry
basically.
blossoms, yeah.
And something with that theme, that would be pretty cool. But just with this rust and acid erosion version and the glowing green one, slightly disappointed there, but, oh well, we're going to get what we're going to get. Hopefully they introduce more ornaments in like Destiny 2. More weapon skins for the ones they already have out there. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Since we were talking about the world first for heroic mode, why don't we just go over the changes that happened in heroic mode? If anybody doesn't want spoilers, just jump ahead about 5 minutes, because I thought heroic mode for this one, especially the the Axis fight at the very end, was going to be a lot harder. I think it's sort of inverted. The hardest fight, in my opinion, was Vosik. The Zamboni changes weren't that bad, and the Axis changes were noticeable, but not like insane. Like you said at the beginning of the show, this is not King's fault here. So let's talk about the changes for Vosik. What flipped on its head?
So Vosik Phase 2, basically, is where the majority of the big changes are. 6 orbs needed to be thrown instead of 3.
So everybody has to throw one, basically.
Everybody in the fire team has to clear out the ads, prepare and coordinate their throws for the bombs. The 2 big monitors behind Vosik light up, and they have a huge damage threshold. I don't think it's a health pool, very similar to the Oracles and the Oversoul from the 2 original raids. I just totally blanked on the names. Courtesan and Vault of Glass. Oh my goodness. I'm going to get so much crap for that. Oh man. So I think, it might not be the best weapon, but super good advice. You can just continually shoot and not use up as much ammo. That's just a theory there. And the safe rooms, that big change with the safe rooms, running to those. They have a half-closed door, and you need to slide under it.
I love that.
It's actually quite difficult sometimes because there's like a little lip on the ground that if you slide and hit that, you're not entering that room.
And everybody inside is just like, come on, dude. It's everyone's dream to be Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible and like turn the bike on its side as you slide under the semi-truck shooting at people. So this kind of let me live out that fantasy a little bit until my head hit the door and I died. So that was hard, dude. It's when like most people stalled out. A lot of the world's first like potentials got hooked up on this part. I remember, I think Dotto's team got held up at Vosik for quite a while. And then let's move on to the Death Zamboni. This one I thought was hilarious. A big spider tank spawns after Mexus is down. Now, you don't have to kill the tank. You can actually just like go around the tank and place the pieces. I've seen strats where people are using a defender bubble, putting it on the tank and then just nuking the tank. but I like this change. You know what I'm saying? Some people were saying it felt almost easier because in replacement, like the tank replaced a couple captains in the whole deal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's not like the Taniks strike level of a spider tank. It's not like that it has that much health. It's actually a little bit easier to take down if you stop to DPS it. So it's not too much of a hindrance, but it definitely surprised a lot of the runners jumping in for the first time. They're like, "What is that?"
And then moving on to Axis for Phase 1 and 2. Axis Phase 1, there's 3 Siva turrets, and Axis Phase 2, 6 servitors spawn. So basically, you have to have more cannon servitor killing ball throwing kind of a deal. Oh, by the way, across all of these fights, like we're just going over the big mechanical changes, the adds are harder, and it feels like there's a few more adds. It feels like there's just a couple extra adds that do make it hard. If you're under 390, I think it is a challenge. Now, lengthwise and mechanically, I expected more for it to be a bit harder, but maybe that's challenge modes in the next few weeks, Ditty. That's something that could come down the pipeline, right?
Yes. I'm excited to see what the challenge modes entail for this raid, because it's I couldn't really theorize them for King's Fall because they're like, what does challenge mean? But now that we have that, it's like, oh, well, maybe if they did this, it's going to be pretty interesting.
Now that we've gotten the raid, we've seen normal, we've seen heroic, what's our review? What's our thought? Is the time and the duration long enough? Is the difficulty right? Is it all that we wanted and more? Your take.
Yeah, I think we should mention the world's first heroic mode. The official time from Bungie was about 45 minutes and 55 seconds.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Okay.
It does go in line with my prediction a couple months back of the timing, very similar to Vault of Glass being around 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, with, my impression is I think this raid is a little bit easier, but it's action-packed and it's fun.
Yes.
I'm actually going to say I think it could be just a little longer, like maybe one more phase somewhere. Just like, I don't know, because now it's just like, yeah, I want to run 2-3 times in a day instead of a week now. So I just want to keep raiding, because raiding in Destiny is just so great, and this one is so good. I just want more.
What is the weakest part of the raid? Because for me, I can easily highlight the Death Zamboni being the one main letdown for me from the images conveyed in the trailer to the actual gameplay experience. I felt like the Zamboni was going to have either a sequence where we're riding on top of it, shooting down at ads. It just doesn't feel very victorious. It feels tedious to me. And I just had a different vision in my head where we're actually having to run from the thing for a long time, killing ads and having to complete a jump puzzle as we go, when really it's just phase 1, shoot the ears off, shoot the mouth. Phase 2, shoot the bombs, carry stuff, put it in. I felt like that was the biggest letdown for me, and maybe it's a technological hindrance, because it is pretty cool to finally get to raid in a big open space and look out over this expansive landscape. But what do you think? What's the weakest point of the raid? And then followed up, what's the strongest point?
I think I'm going to agree with you, the weakest point being the Death Zamboni, but I think I know why. It's because it doesn't feel like a boss fight. With King's Fall, we had the priest, the first boss, we had Golgoroth, and then we had the daughters, and then we had Oryx. Vault of Glass, we had the Templar, and then I guess Atheon, but the Templar had multiple phases. And Crota, we had just the Thrall Abyss, that first part, the bridge, and then the Death Singer, Ute, and then Crota. It just feels like the Death Zamboni it's an obstacle we have to get over and not a boss we have to beat to complete the raid. And I agree with you. I definitely think that there should have been like a Mexis in the first phase of the Death Zamboni. He's up there and he's controlling it and he's shooting at you with the Death Zamboni, and we have to run a further length of the wall. I think that would have, improved the fight. But again, it might still be a technical limitation there with the old engine, because when those ads spawn for the Death Zamboni, the frame rate just dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they realize that and they're like, okay, maybe we can't make this a boss fight. Maybe it's just another obstacle. I think the highlight of the raid is, honestly, I'm going to say both bosses, Vosik and Axis. It synergizes so well because raids in Destiny, they do a very good job of teaching you how to do the final fight. They teach you the mechanics along the way. And then I really like Vosik. I love those encounters, the first one and the second one, with the charges, with the voltage meter and everything. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I have a lot of fun doing those phases.
Yeah, Vosik's my favorite fight as well. I don't mind Axis, don't get me wrong, but to me, Vosik feels more challenging, more involved, like I'm having to do more things than, all right, empowered back, empowered left, stand near his place, jump on his back, here's our DPS phase.
Because I think you're juggling more ads and the boss at the same time.
Yeah,
I think it's more coordination there in terms of holding your own.
So there was some timing controversy with World First. Why don't we go over what the issue was there? Because there's a discrepancy, right, between the time that Bungie posted for Slayer Age's team versus the actual in-game time, right?
Yeah, and that's where I noticed it specifically. But the controversy was with the Tfue and his fire team. They beat the Death Zamboni, and they didn't wait for it to slide off the wall, and they jumped down, and they were met with a darkness screen. So that they had to redo that encounter. And it was like, what just happened? And that, when you're going for World's First, that'll tilt you super hard.
Well, it's gone. It's gone.
It's just gone. It's like you can't do anything, and you have to do the fight again. And that's just really unfortunate that happened. I can't tell you why, but it happened. And then another thing that I noticed was with Slayer Age and his team, when they beat they thought they had World's First. They're like, wow, we're first on Twitch, and the post-game rewards screen has a completion time associated with it. And it was like 44:43, something like that. And then when Bungie tweeted out the official, quote unquote, official World First completion times for the heroic mode, first place was like 45 minutes. So it almost seems like they include the time that you're flying into the encounter.
Yeah.
And not when you actually start it. And that's interesting because the timer is in the game already, and you can see the completion time for that activity. It kind of makes you wonder why they're not using that time. But then again, it's, if you're doing Worlds First, it's really hard to coordinate how people starting at the same time. Bungie almost has to... It's almost like they have to start it as soon as they make the raid go live, and they can't wait for people to start the encounter. It's like, when did you beat it in relation to when we made it live? I think that's when the time starts.
Yeah, you might have been the faster team to beat it, but if you were 3 minutes later starting, then
you're not the first.
That's exactly it. So here's my take on things. Bungie absolutely needs to post clearly written rules for World First, how timing exactly works, if it's the timer beginning the moment the patch goes live or that the thing unlocks, because if it's a German team, is the unlock at the exact same second for these squads or whatever. And then from there, I really want to see a leaderboard in the tower for like every raid and every strike. I'll touch on that in a second, but the amount of press and media the World First team gets is quite a bit these days. I mean, the day the new raid comes out is always the most popular day of the year for Destiny on Twitch. I mean, look at Gathalion, 60,000 people watching that raid. And a lot of it is just the discovery and seeing the new fight and getting excited about the new content. But a lot of it is people rooting for their favorite streamer to get World First. I would have no idea who Clan Redeem is, except for the fact that they got World First. And they were publicized in the weekly update, and I saw them all around, and it's like, oh, that's Tfue. Oh, I remember that guy from this and that. So there is a lot of press associated with it, and since this is becoming such a big deal, I really want to see more official rules posted and more explanation of like, hey, Slayer Age, this is why your team didn't end up getting it. You might have been faster, but you guys actually started like a minute later, and we include the time it takes you flying in, kind of a deal, right?
And those kinds of rules, they can include things like... including or excluding cheeses, like with Crota's End. If you cheese any encounter of the raid, you're disqualified. You have to do it the way we intended it to play, and it would include those types of things. But that's for world's first. But if you're speedrunning at a later date, speedrunning's all about optimization and, finding those shortcuts. It's that type of argument. What entails world's first, and what would disqualify me for that title.
For this category, yeah, you can have category rule sets for any percent. For Wrath of the Machine includes the wall skip until that gets patched. Or all bosses would maybe include the fact that wall skip isn't allowed and you're not allowed to clip through, at the Zamboni fight. I want to see leaderboards in game, though. We've talked about this for a long time. If there's a speedrun leaderboard in the game for all of the raids and for all of the strikes, there'd be a huge new community of runners interested in trying to grab that top spot. You then have Bungie being able to dish out emblems for people who've held the leaderboard at the end of a month or whatever. It's just disappointing to me that it's all pushed away to the third-party community sites, like Destiny Tracker, right? Why do people need to go to these sites for the PvP leaderboards? There's plenty of people who would love to see in-game, all right, I'm top 2,000 in Rumble. Cool, that's awesome. And it just creates this competitive nature. It's visible in-game. I want to see it. I don't see downsides at all, but it's probably a technological thing, right? Something on the back end. Because look at Challenge of Elders, dude. They kept posting the top 3 scores every single week throughout that whole summer from April update on to Rise of Iron. Why not have that info in-game, man?
Yeah, and it begs the question, if that scoreboard was in-game, the second place team, they could have seen that time or that score and be like, oh, we still have another day. We need to beat that time. It just gives people drive to, be the competition.
Let's move on to Festival of the Lost. It's here now. We're playing it as we're talking. Well, I'm imagining I'm playing it. My Xbox is over here on the right. Let's just go over some of the things that stood out to me, items that I'd like to have. So, guys, all of the old masks are coming back. You have a kiosk now where you can actually access those masks. So you don't have to keep them in your vault anymore, thank goodness, which is pretty rad. A couple new emblems, the new masks, some of which that stood out to me, the wolf mask, the prince mask, which is hilarious. I love the Siva mask, right? It's the actual pyramid.
The firewolf mask. They mentioned most likely it's similar to the skull mask from Year 1 Festival of the Lost. It has that flaming helmet. And it's the one you see in the trailer, that glowing blue one. Oh, that's awesome.
And you like the Yolder helmet too, right?
The Yolder one is actually really funny.
Terrifying.
It's terrifying. It is so scary, and that's what Festival of the Lost is about, Well, I guess Eris doesn't think so in the trailer, but spooky stuff, not just silly stuff. Spooky stuff like that, the older mask, that's actually pretty good.
There's 2 new emotes, Howl and Terrify. Of course, you guys, there's new microtransactions to go along with these live events. It's quote-unquote how they're funded. The consumable that had me, dude, is the giant eyeball. It's the sleepless gaze. It's this big eyeball, and the eyeball actually moves and looks around. I can't wait to run that in a trials run, just to troll the other team and be like, this enormous head.
I'm watching you.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And then the ghost, the deviled ghost, is so adorable. It's got little horns taped onto it, man.
Also, the ghost has another one, the ghost. He's wearing a little bed sheet as well, and he's living up to his name.
When we saw that in the trailer, we screamed. It was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. The new Sparrow is this pulsating lime green. I want it so bad. There's a sweet green shader. There's actually 3 shaders in total that you guys can collect throughout this week. And I think that's just about it. But why don't we talk through how players are actually going to get this stuff as they play through the week? Like the big quest line that they're going to go through.
Yeah, it's a multi-tiered quest line. And at first we thought it might be a record book, but the quest line makes a little bit more sense because that's what we've seen in the past. But multi-tiered quest line with rewards along the way that grant you these consumables, shaders, sparrows, and the ghost skins.
We'll go through a couple of the steps. Brilliant idea. You need to impress Saladin with your excellent taste in masks. You need to reenact Saladin's deeds of yore while wearing his mask. You need to find another audience, an unappreciative audience. You better tell Tyra. Lethal Masquerade. You need to earn Crucible kills while wearing the mask. Yes, I'm so happy. I've already seen people running around Crucible with their stupid masks on, dude. And it's like, I love this event. It's so silly. Got to do public events while collecting engrams as you have a mask on. Return to Eva, fill your candy bag by defeating foes in the Crucible while wearing a mask. So very similar to last year. There's steps talking to the different NPCs. So it looks like Tyra, Eva, and Salad Bar are all involved this year. Nothing revolutionary in terms of PvE. Lots of great collectibles, but it's the same stuff you're already doing if you're playing Destiny from a week-to-week basis. So let's talk about that. Like, as a review, I love the collectibles. They're getting way better at putting more awesome, cool, desirable, aesthetic things in Endgame. But it's not being paired with new creative PvE activities. Like, this is just the same stuff you're already doing from before.
Yeah, and you're getting different rewards for it, basically. It's slightly silly, and it really confirms my suspicion. You know, there are 3 tiers of live events. You have Festival of the Lost being the smallest, of course. Then you have the Sparrow Racing League style, it's being revamped in this December, of course. But you know, from our experience, it's a little bit more in depth. It's a bit new game mode that you're doing. They're also adding some other elements this December, and then things like the April update, which honestly was basically just a lot of quality of life changes to improve the Destiny experience. But it did add that new content as well. And then, of course, you have the expansions and the sequels above that. But in terms of live events, it seems like those are those 3 tiers. And this time around, pretty shallow, I guess we could say. But gives us other things, other new rewards, collectibles, like you said.
Totally. So let's talk about the changes to Silver Dust and ornaments. Coming soon is the fact that the Iron Lord ornaments, the Raid Challenge ornaments, and the Trials ornaments are no longer going to require silver dust to apply to your character, which is a big plus. I appreciate that. Previously, if you get a Trials ornament, you actually had to have some silver dust to apply it to your armor. Don't remember, I think it's like 5. I think it might be 5 silver dust. I've got a bunch of them on the Titan and the Warlock. I just can't remember what it is. So, small improvement to silver dust. I don't think there's any changes coming in the near future, though, that will make things cheaper from Xur. Still kind of a grind, but it's microtransactions, man. Every AAA game, it seems like you can't shake them.
Yeah.
Even Halo Wars 2, dude, they have a mode coming called Blitz. That's literally, instead of building bases to build units, you have a deck of cards, and the cards call in the units. So it's just like, microtransaction money is everywhere. Who did world first on the solo axis, dude?
That was Scardro or Scardro. Still don't know how to pronounce it. World's first solo axis is absolutely insane. He did a Reddit post as well for a written review or breakdown, if you will, explaining why he did certain things. But it is just phenomenal. The timing of everything, the precision at which he has to do everything is insane. Of course, it's done with a Fireborn Warlock. Because you have to get rid of the charge lockout that you have when you pick up a cannon. But he does all 5, I think it's 5 damage phases, 4 or 5 damage phases that he does. Throws all the bombs, kills all the servitors by himself, and man, it is worth a watch because it gets down to the wire. But he did it.
I'm going to uninstall. I've said this every week. I'm not good. I'm trash. When you hear of this stuff, it's just ridiculous. And then Slayerich did it himself about Sunday night or Saturday night, Saturday morning.
Night, yeah. He put the YouTube out early Sunday morning. I haven't watched that one, but I do believe he was running a slightly different strategy. But after seeing that world's first video, he might have switched over. So
okay. Great week. I'm enjoying Festival. I hope our viewers and listeners are enjoying it as well. SRL is December, which is going to be our next big event, air quoting event here. Challenge modes are going to be coming out sometime in November. They've done a pretty good job, I think, since the release of Rise of Iron, having a steady stream of stuff to do. But I'm hoping PSX in December talks about either some big spring update or some spring DLC, man, because we tore through Rise of Iron. As the Destiny community always does.
Yeah, we definitely did. People were hitting 400 light 36 hours after they raise the light level. But, you know, PSX, you know, from experience, I'm going to anticipate SRL playable on the floor. Maybe some teasers for things to come as well. And Festival of the Lost, by the way, I don't think we mentioned this. It runs until November 8th. So October 25th until November 8th. So you have a couple weeks to get all those amazing collection masks.
They're getting the collectibles down with the kiosks and the cool visuals of
Kiosks
these things.
is a really good addition.
Smart, because our vaults aren't getting any bigger. Come on, Bungie, please.
Which should be. They said it's going to come sometime after launch.
Engineering team, I'll buy you some donuts. I'll do what I gotta do to get that to me soon, because it's full, man. I'm having to make hard choices every day. Do I get rid of this Cuirass of the Hezen Lords from year one? But what if I wanted to wear it sometime?
Don't worry. The April update, unconfirmed, going to bring you those raids again.
10 extra slots. We'll finally get to play Vault of Glass again 2.5 years later.
No. Here's how they're going to do the increase of vault space. You're just going to be able to store your stuff in the Vault of Glass. You've opened it up. It's yours.
Ditty, why are you even on this show? You're too much of a mastermind. You're too brilliant to not be in Seattle right now working alongside them.
Bellevue, maybe.
Is it Bellevue? It's probably Bellevue. It is. That place, by the way, I have a buddy who lives up there. I used to work with him. He says there are like Lamborghinis and Teslas and supercars everywhere. His wife is like a head of some marketing department at Amazon. And he just says it's crazy how like hip, new, and technological that town and area is. So there's my tangential thing for the show. Where can people find your content, dude?
Twitter.com/Ditty, DTS, DITTY, DTS, and YouTube.com/Wooshness, WOOOSHNESS.
Excellent. You can go to our website, destinytheshow.com, for all the links from today and more. Join our Discord, over 900 members strong, discord.me/destinytheshow. Great place to party up and maybe work with people to get some masks or that heroic mode raid. You can follow us on Twitter at Destiny the Show. We love hearing from you guys. Check out our friends over at DestinyTracker.com, the best place in the Destiny universe to track your stats. You can follow me at BBK Dragoon on both YouTube and Twitter. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time.